Glad you're streaming with us. New data is out showing that mortgage rates are once again rising. They have soared back way above 7% now, the highest level since late last year, meaning it's much more expensive to try and buy a home. Our business correspondent, Lexi Christoforous, joining us now to tell us why the heck this is happening. Why are mortgage rates up so much?
And talk about bad timing, Kira, because the spring is...
Q said Wawa must be an East Coast place. Nah, we see Wawas everywhere, especially in the South. Florida, Wawa is heavy in Florida. Tampa, I don't know so much about Miami. I don't remember seeing it in Miami. Buc-ee's? What is Buc-ee's? Buc-ee's is a Wawa on steroids. Oh, Jesus Christ. More stuff y'all to buy that y'all don't need for us to throw away once it gets enough dust on it in the crib.
It's usually the time, a busy time for the housing market when folks are going out and looking at homes to buy, but they are dealing once again with mortgage rates that are on the rise. As you said, mortgage rates now above 7%, averaging actually 7.17%. We haven't seen rates that high since November of last year. Big reason why the Federal Reserve, right? It had said it was going to start cutting interest rates this year, which would have helped mortgage rates, but now it's sort of changed its tune because inflation is proving to be more stubborn than we first thought, and so the Federal Reserve may be holding off on those interest rate cuts, possibly, Kira, for the rest of the year.
So y'all do know that when we talk about these interest rates being high, it's a couple different things that y'all need to take into consideration. I know y'all haven't even thought about the possibility of getting a 15-year mortgage or a 10-year mortgage and then lowering the amount that you would spend on a house so that you can actually pay it off a lot quicker. But interest rates are always lower on mortgages that take less time for you to pay off. So if you get a 15-year mortgage, it's going to be less than a 7%. 7% is pretty crazy. It's crazy compared to what we used to. Back in the day, they actually had it higher than 7%, but they adjusted the type of property that they bought based off of what was necessary for their family. They didn't need a mini McMansion in order to put on Instagram in order to impress everybody. The real flex is having a paid-off place that you can live in. That's it. The flex, let me tell you what the flex in life is. It's not about the interest rate. It's not about what you can pay. It's not about what your payment is. It's not about the perception. It's about what you actually have that you don't have to spend an extraordinary amount of money in order to exist in, so you can allocate your resources over to the things that really matter. You want to spend your life stress-free, okay? They're going to continue to raise the rates. If inflation doesn't tamp down, as long as we continue to send money over to Ukraine and we send money over to Israel and Taiwan and fighting these proxy wars and migrant crisis and stuff. And the interesting thing about that is that a lot of homeowners is going to continue to stay artificially low in stock because a lot of homeowners are unwilling to sell. Why? Because they know that they can't take the money and buy another property because they only have so much equity into it. A lot of y'all keep saying that y'all balling, I own my own crib. You're lying. You're lying. The bank owns your place. And if you miss 3 payments, they coming to take it. If you miss 3 payments, they're coming to foreclose on your property. If you miss 3 payments when it comes to your car, they're coming to take it. You know why? Because you don't own your own car. You financed your car, and you have to make 360 payments to your mortgage before they even relinquish the title to your car. So it's always popular to say, but it's just a marketing tactic and it's a marketing tool in order to get you to continue to pay interest. The real flex is not to be paying anything. And that's not telling y'all, I'm not telling y'all to go out here and live van life. But what I am telling y'all is that they're going to continue to raise rates as long as inflation is high and as long as we have this bad, horrible president that don't understand inflation, because interest rates, see, when they raise the rates, it's largely talked about and reflected in the mortgages. It's not always talked about and reflected in your day-to-day activities because these businesses, these banks, these small business loans, credit cards, all of this stuff, it's exploding. Credit card debt is higher than it's ever been. It's higher than it's ever been. Car notes, y'all all paying $1,000 car notes. We're going to get to that shortly. We got a segment for that too. But y'all keep paying all these high-ass interest rates. I don't believe in paying no interest. Why would I give money to the bank when I can keep it all in my own pocket?
rates this year, which would have helped mortgage rates. But now it's sort of changed its tune because—
Let me tell you something. Let me say this one more before we get into the rest of this segment. I have more reverence for the person that has a paid off, relatively cheaper home than the person that lives in the McMansion that has this huge house note. For the person that chooses to live in and not have to spend an extraordinary amount of their resources in order to live in a house and is paid off their mortgage. If you are a millionaire or you are 100,000-aire or you 1,000-aire or whatever, right? Because it's largely tied into your net worth, and you in a paid off home that costs $250,000, $300,000, $350,000, you balling above the person that has $1,000 equity in $1 million home. Don't be finessed by these talking points and these Instagram profiles. Listen, Diddy himself, as much money as he was making, they say that Diddy was making anywhere between 30 and 50, sometimes $70 million a year. Diddy have like 8 mortgages on some of his properties. Them big old homes that he got down there in Florida and Los Angeles, they be having jumbo loans on those properties. Now, the way that they mortgage properties is much different because they want to leverage the equity that they have into other things in order to reduce the amount of taxes that they got to pay, because if they have to take the final payment and then pay the taxes, what happens is, not mortgaging a property forces them to give more over to the federal government. We'll dig into that inside of the Patreon. However, they be having jumbo loans. They be having 8, 9, 10 different mortgages on those properties in order for them to be able to live in those places. And then it's hard for them to move them because they have a smaller pool of buyers that is not pressed to be able to buy that property. And so you want to stay in that sweet spot. And you also want to make sure that you paid off your property, because then that opens up the possibilities of where you can deploy the rest of your capital and your resources.
Inflation is proving to be more stubborn than we first thought, and so the Federal Reserve may be holding off on those interest rate cuts, possibly, Kira, for the rest of the year.
So what does this mean for home buyers? This is typically the busiest time of the year for the housing market.
Right. So home buyers are dealing with 2 things. Not only are mortgage rates higher, but the prices of homes not coming down, still near a record high. You've got the median price now for an existing home in this country, nearly $400,000, putting it out of reach for so many folks, especially those first-time home buyers. So here's how it breaks down. If you were to buy a $400,000 home at today's mortgage rate, your monthly payment would be about $2,700. If you had bought that same home 3 years ago, before the Fed started hiking interest rates and rates were about 3%, your monthly payment would have been about $1,000 cheaper at about $1,700. That's a real savings for folks. And I think the bottom line here, Kira, is that experts I talked to say expect mortgage rates to probably remain high for the rest of the year. It's important to shop around, check out different.
You're not going to get a much smaller rate no matter where you shop around to. That's just a fact.
Homebuyer demand taking a hit this week as mortgage.
Oh, hold on, bro. Where your stash at? I don't know. Is this a new trend? Is this a new trend? No hair on the face, no stash. I mean, I'm not listening. I think that everybody can do what they want to do, but is that a thing?
Homebuyer demand taking a hit this week as mortgage rates stay above 7% for a second week in a row. The uptick.
You see, the 15-year is significantly lower. I mean, it's not too much lower, but that's a huge amount when you're talking about financing $500,000 or $400,000 for a house.
In rates is certainly a sour note for potential home buyers looking to get in during the spring selling season. So, with sticky inflation pushing mortgage rates higher, should you rent an apartment or buy a house right now? Yahoo Finance's Danny Romero has the details. Hey, Danny.
Brad, consumers are dealing with high mortgage rates that are hovering above 7% and rent prices that are falling. So which market is better to pencil out here?
See Quentin over here being crazy. I see you, Quentin.
Well, data from Realtor.com shows that the monthly median rent in February was about $1,700. That's $4 lower than in January. And that's enough to buy you a McDonald's Big Mac every month. Just a suggestion. The biggest price cuts in the rental
She threw that joke in there herself. The producers did not write that.
market were for a studio apartment. The median price tag a month was about $1,400. 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom apartment prices also fell. But if you are considering in buying a home, data from Redfin shows that the median monthly payment on a home hit a record. It's about $2,800 a month.
How are y'all affording this? I'm just, because I know, and y'all want to act like, Anton, you so disconnected. I'm not. My costs are very minimal. All of the costs that I have is associated with my businesses. So when it comes to payroll and equipment and all of that stuff and a rent for this place or whatever, that's completely separate from my own personal life. How are people affording spending this type of money when we know what the average income is, and the average household income, the median household income, y'all got to be spending at least 50% of y'all income on y'all house payment. And this don't even have nothing to do with the property taxes. This don't have nothing to do with maintenance, PMI if you got PMI, utilities. That's not even baked into the cost. Insurance costs, what goes in the escrow so you can then pay your property taxes on time, and the county or the state don't go ahead and foreclose on it and take it and sell it at an auction. How are y'all affording almost $3,000 a month for a house payment? And you got to hustle and struggle for 360 months and try to survive this junk for the next 30 years. Man, I'm not paying nothing for 30 years. I'm not paying nothing for 30 years. 30 years? I mean, this just can't. Okay, so let's take it. $3,000 a month. So y'all paying let's just say somewhere between $35,000 and $36,000 a year. If the median household income is like $67,000 a year, and then you got to take taxes out of that. Now, household income meaning people combined. That's a lot of money, bro. It's a lot of money.
That's a 13% increase from the same period last year. And mortgage rates are partially to blame here. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is hovering above 7%, pushing homeownership out of reach.
That's insane, man. But y'all asked for this. This is the economy that y'all want. They keep selling you on the idea that jobs are plentiful and everybody is winning out here in these streets. Okay.